hello, ladies. Welcome to the Short Sisters podcast. I'm Kathy.
I'm Ellen.
We're so glad you're here with us again.
Hey, ladies.
Yes. So, before we jump into this podcast episode, which today's episode is going to be about our teen years.
Yes.
I have some fun questions that we're going to ask each other and respond to. So I'm very excited about that.
She gave me the list of questions and I was like, oh my gosh, I really have to think about it because I'm older than she is. So it just brought me back to some of the old days. I really had to think about it.
She said old.
I
Remember
am.
that?
I'm old. I'm old. I am old.
Before we jump in, though, one of the things that we did last week that I thought would be fun to just continue going forward is a 5-minute or so recap of what your week was like.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why don't you tell us, like, what did God show you this week, or if there was any hard, good, whatever?
Ooh, so, I'm a teacher. And it is the end of the year. And it is every year around this time, it can get rough. And I think it was last week, Chad and I literally came home every single day. We were just completely exhausted. And, I pull small groups of kids. I'm the literacy interventionist on campus. And even some of my small groups were just having a hard time focusing and, and we are in the midst of STAR testing. That's our state test for the state of Texas. And it has been rough. This is going to be our last week of testing. But our custodian, she has a sign and she always does a countdown for like any major holiday we're about to take off. And she has the countdown days. And so we always walk by and we're like, oh, Gracie, it says 17 days until the end of school. So it's getting close. I've been really blessed just at our new church. I got to sing in praise team on Sunday.
That's awesome.
And it has been a minute since I've been able to sing. I felt like I was a little bit rusty, but, I was able to practice the songs. And then on Sunday, I was just like, okay, Lord, this is all for you. And it was such a blessing to be a part of the praise team. And then Chad signed on to be one of the sound guys. He still may or may not be a part of the praise team because our music minister asked him to sing this last Sunday after church. And he was like, okay, I may want you for praise team. I have to think about that. So it has been a real blessing. Just, being a part of our church and just being able to just meet new people and just, get to know people. So that's been a blessing. So what about your week, Kathy? How's your week been?
So this week, Jason was on a work trip. He was in Las Vegas for several days, and he left on Saturday, I believe. Yes, he left on Saturday. And then was gone and came home late Thursday.
Okay.
But Saturday and Sunday weren't so bad. Monday was rough, but let's just be real. Mondays are rough anyway.
I think Mondays are rough for anybody.
Yeah. Monday was tough with my oldest. My oldest and I were having what I would call the battle of the wills. So you should say. And I was tired and exhausted and my head hurt. And Jason's been gone for 2 days. And I'm like, Lord, you're going to have to give me grace this week. I'm very tired and my head hurts.
Yeah.
I will share this. I've already told Ellen this, but I'll share this with you guys. So Monday was tough. So much so that I ended up having to call Jason in between his work events and ask him to speak to his son on the phone.
Yeah.
It's like, can you please just remind him that even when you're not home, the rules are still the same. You and I are one team.
Yeah.
And so Jason and him talked on the phone for a little bit. And then a little bit after that phone call, there was a moment, and y'all, this is what I did, and it changed the course of my life. I said, listen, son, I'm not sure what's going on today. It's a rough day today, and I'm really disappointed. And
yeah.
But I got to tell you, like, this can't continue. And if it does continue, I'm going to have to call Mr. Chad Bishop, which is Ellen's husband. They live 4 minutes from us. Okay, y'all? Like, I'm going to call Mr. Chad, and he's going to come over here and put the fear of God in you, young man. And then I pray and hope that changes the trajectory of the rest of our week. And when he was like, you're going to call Mr. Chad? It's like, yes. And if I have to, I'll get Joe involved. And we always threaten Joe.
Yeah.
He's like, I am so sorry. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. What do you need me to do the rest of the week? I have to say, though, I will say after that day, like, God's really been doing quite an amazing work in Joshua's life. Like, a couple of years ago, which you probably were there for, he came to know the Lord and was baptized, and we saw a lot of fruit. But this past year's been kind of a rough patch for him and really struggling and pushing back more. And I'm starting to realize that's probably the teen years, because he's trying to become his own person. And, But I'm loving it, though. Like, even though Monday was tough, the rest of the week, we've had some good conversations. He's my high sensitive kid. Like, he needs a lot of sensory input. So he's like hugging me and loving me, and like, oh my God, I love him.
Enjoy that.
But Monday was tough. But now I know. And this is for all of you other listeners out there, that if you say, don't make me call Mr. Chad Bishop or don't make me call Mr. Joe Rowan, your teen boy will like turn a quarter.
That is hilarious. I think that is hilarious. When you said he's still kind of in that huggy stage with you, enjoy that. Because my youngest, like today, before we came over here, he came downstairs and Chad was on the phone. And I was like, son, come here. And he looked at me kind of funny. He's like, what? Like, what did I do wrong? I was like, give your mother a hug. And he just kind of looked at me and he goes,
like a little side hug.
Yeah.
Like,
and then I'm like, and then I could put my arm around him and I like hugged him hard. And he just thought he was always my one that wanted to like climb up in my lap and cuddle with me. And now it's like, you want me to do what?
Yeah.
Really?
Now, Joshua would probably not do that with friends around, but when he's home, he's all about like being near me, which I love.
Oh,
but anyway,
enjoy that.
So I say that to say, you asked how my week was. The beginning of the week was, Lord, this is going to be a tough week if this is what it's looking like.
Yeah.
And I even that evening after the kids went to bed, I put on some Shane and Shane. They have an album that I really listened to and sang and cried and prayed. I said, God, I need your strength to get through this week.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tough week if it was like it was today, but he was kind and answered those prayers, and my kids had a great rest of the week.
That's good.
So,
yeah.
Anyway,
on that note, she was talking about her teenage son.
Yes. So today's episode is going to be about our teen years.
Yes.
And the way that I thought we would do it is we would just, we have a list of questions. We're just going to talk about them. I'm going to ask her and then I'll respond, and she'll ask me and I'll respond.
You'll see which one is the older one.
Oh, yes, you will. I'm very excited about this. It's going to be good times.
I looked at the questions. I'm like, you wanted to see how I would answer these questions,
yes,
huh?
Ma'am. Okay. Ellen, who was your celebrity crush?
Oh, my goodness. Okay. So she had to ask me that. I was absolutely in love with Ralph Macchio. If y'all don't know who that is, Karate Kid. I've watched every single one. And yes, I have almost gone through all of the Cobra Kai series. And then now, I mean, like, you know, definitely he shows his age. And I remember watching the Cobra Kai series going, man, I did have a crush on him when I was a
That's
teenager. And surprisingly, I had a huge crush on Kirk Cameron.
Yeah, weren't you telling me that you had posters of him in your room?
I had posters of Ralph Macchio and Kirk Cameron in my room.
Now, why Kirk Cameron? He was in
Growing Pains.
That's right.
I just thought he was just adorable.
Oh, that's sweet.
And I had a huge crush on Ralph Macchio. So I had posters of both of them in my room, and I had posters of New Kids on the Block.
So we were talking about this a moment ago. Like, why did we put posters up in our bedroom?
I don't know. And you know what? I used to buy those silly teen magazines. Those were
I know what you're talking about.
Because that's where I got my posters from. I would tear out the pictures and staple them on my wall everywhere.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
That's where I got my posters from, was from those teen magazines.
That's so funny. That's bringing me back to my good old days. Man, that's funny.
I know.
Well, for me, my teen crush was JTT from Home Improvement.
I know. You had to tell. I'm like, who's JTT? And she said Home. I'm like, oh my gosh. Yes.
I loved JTT. Yes. So he was my celebrity crush, but my boy band crush was not NSYNC, Backstreet Boys all day long. I love Nick Carter. Oof. I have posters. And I'm over here like, why did I have posters? Because I can't even think back to myself and think did I stare at them? Did I obsess? No. I just wanted pictures of these dudes in my room.
They're
so
cute.
Weird.
They're cute. No?
Oh, good times.
Gosh.
Okay, so why don't you share with our audience, if you want to, you don't have to, what was an embarrassing thing you did in high school? It could be junior high too, because you're a teen. You're junior high as well.
I think for me, when I think back, I feel like probably for me, embarrassing wise was that I was probably a little bit too emotional.
Okay.
Girl, I cried. I was all into my feelings. And when I think about how I acted back then, I'm just embarrassed because I just was so emotional. And I'm sure people looked at me like, oh my gosh, you're so emotional. I think that was probably the most embarrassing thing that I could probably think of for myself is that. What about you?
Okay, so for me, and I am so terribly sorry, Megan, who is my older sister, if you're listening to this, I have two that stand out to me the most. One was, I love you, Megan.
We might throw shade on some of our friends and family
straight
here.
up. And listen, Megan, you can comment all you want and be mad at me all you want. Well, you'll forgive me because you love Jesus and you love your sister, and we joke about this all the time. The two for me, one was we went to Christian high school and junior high, and at every week we would vote on who the student of the week was.
Yeah.
And I think I was in 8th grade, maybe 7th grade. I can't remember. I was somewhere in that age range. My sister voted on me to be the student of the week in all of junior high and high school. And I ended up winning that. And they took a picture of me and blew this picture up. But see, here's the thing. I didn't know they were going to blow this picture up and stick it on the end of the hallway. So as you're coming upstairs to go to your classrooms.
Is it a life-size Kathy?
I mean, it's huge. And I was like, so embarrassed. And the other thing is, the part of why I was embarrassed, I was in that stage where I was still pretty angry at God.
Yeah.
And so I never really smiled in pictures. Yeah. So it kind of looks like a mugshot. I'm not kidding. And my hair is so fried because we had to dye it so much to get it back to my original color. So
what was your hair color then?
So when I was adopted, right before I was adopted, I dyed my hair like this dark black.
Oh, okay. Wait.
Yes.
I'm trying to
listen. I'm rebellious.
Okay.
I'm in a rebellious stage. I'm like black hair. Let's do it all. Give me,
Yeah.
Well, we went to a Christian high school, and you couldn't have dyed hair,
Right. Okay.
so we had to get back to my natural hair as best we could. But it was really hard to get. It's really hard to get the right red.
Right.
So they had to bleach it. It was so fried. So not only am I not smiling, my hair is so frizzy, and they've blown this up. And I turned the corner. I was like, oh, I was horrified. I was so mad at my sister. So mad at her. So that was one. Then the second one was, funny. And this is a fantastic prank. Kudos to you, Megan, by the way, for doing this. We were both on the same high school soccer team.
Mm-hmm.
She was a senior and I was a freshman. And so this was my first time to go to a soccer banquet.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister kept telling me the whole week, this is a big deal. It's a fancy banquet. You're supposed to get dressed up and get all pretty and all of these things. And I'm like, okay. And so I'm getting my dress on and my hair done and my makeup done. And it's at the very end, and my mom's like, girls, I'm leaving. If you're not in the car, I'm driving. You will leave and not be a part of the banquet.
Yeah.
Megan got ready, all fancy and whatnot, but then she went into her room and got back into regular street clothes and took her hair down. And at this point, my mom's like, I'm leaving. Get in the car. And I come out in a dress, makeup, hair all done.
Yeah.
And my sister in regular street clothes looking just like no big deal. I'm like, what? Why are you not wearing a dress? Why isn't your hair not pretty?
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty, but why is it not fancy?
Yeah.
What's going on? And she was just laughing the whole time, the whole ride there. I get to the banquet. None of the girls on the soccer team, there was 30, are dressed in dresses. They don't have a fancy hair. I'm talking, not quite prom ready, but I was homecoming dance ready.
Oh my God.
The rest of them look just a typical day at high school. And I was so embarrassed. And I was also mad at my sister. But now I look back at it, it's what an amazing prank she did. What an amazing prank. But at the time I was so mad.
I would be mad too.
I love you, Meg.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Okay. So, sorry. I should have brought my water, but I forgot it.
We already did bands.
We did talk about bands. What was the first presidential election you voted in, Ellen?
So, I was actually, because when I turned 18, it was the year I graduated from high school.
Okay.
So there was no presidential election. So the next one was 1996, which the funny thing was, I was already married and I had already had my first child. So my first presidential election was the Clinton and Bush.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the first Bush, correct?
Mm-hmm, the first Bush. Okay. That was my first one that I was able to vote in.
Okay.
And I voted. Which is when I'm looking at the question, I'm like, dang, I am old.
So who won that election? Just in case people, do you know?
I want to say Bush did.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure Bush did.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that one.
See, this is how old I am because I don't remember. But I have to think back. Bush did.
So for me, my first election was John Kerry and George Bush.
Oh, wow.
Is it junior?
Yeah.
Yeah, because George Bush, it's his son. So that was my very first election. Mm-hmm. And I got to be real honest with you. I went in knowing nothing. I voted Republican because my parents voted Republican and conservative. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to click Republican. And now that I'm older, I'm a lot more aware of
the issues.
The issues and all of that. And so I'm not a straight ticket all the time.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was my first election was George Bush and John Kerry.
Interesting. All right.
What was your favorite school subject?
That one's hard. I liked history.
Okay.
But when I got into high school and I went to Westbury Christian, um, I had one of my favorite teachers. She taught English, Mrs. Hughes. Well, she was Dr. Hughes when she moved over to HBU to be over the department. She was like one of the advisors for the Department of Education over there. She just really, really fostered my love for like reading English. I remember in junior high, we had to quote Chaucer, like the first lines of some of my friends that had Dr. Hughes as a teacher. Y'all, I'll remember this. My husband does as well. We had to memorize the first lines of I don't even remember what it was, but it was Chaucer. But she really fostered my love for that subject. And then eventually, when she moved over to HBU and Chad went back to school, she was his advisor
Oh,
when he
wow,
went
that's cool.
when he was going through school, and she literally was there to just like help him plan out his courses. And she was there when he graduated, and she was just such a great support. I mean, she's passed away now, but it's been a couple of years. But she's one of my favorites.
That's awesome.
Yep. Yep. What about you?
So this is a hard question for me.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite subject was probably like tied with history and drama.
Mm.
I mean, I like drama and I love to be on stage, and like I'm an extrovert, and like that's my jam. But I also love history, and I love what that entails, and I love that the two history teachers that I had brought it to life for me.
Yeah.
I would definitely say though, the class I think that had the most impact on me was my senior year. I took a class called Worldviews by, which we'll talk about this later. My favorite teacher, which was Mr. Williams.
Yeah.
It really challenged me to think about, why do I believe what I believe?
Oh, wow.
And he just was a great teacher.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe it's a three-way tie with history and drama and speech and worldviews. I would probably
now see. I could see you in those subjects. That is totally Kathy, y'all.
So yes,
totally
that's definitely. I would say those are probably my favorite.
Ooh.
Okay, so in your high school that you went to, would you say that you had some social cliques? And if so, what group did you typically fall in?
High school was hard for me. There was points where I felt like I just didn't fit in anywhere. So I never was with the popular kids. I played sport. I played volleyball. I played softball. I was involved in different things in high school, but I wouldn't say that I was one of those quote unquote popular kids where everybody looked up to me and be, oh, I want to be in Ellen's group. I was just quiet and reserved, but we did have cliques. I mean, we had the jocks, we had the sports people, we had the people that were like the party people. We had the people that were artistic, drama, and then you kind of had the group of people that was kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't say they were just in that group where they didn't really necessarily fit in. And I was in that group. I just was not. My freshman year, I had a rough time. My sophomore year was a little bit better, and then my junior and senior year were a lot better. And we had a close class our senior year. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. What about you?
So at my high school, I went to a small high school.
I did too.
And in fact, I'm pretty sure my graduating class was 33 kids. So that helped.
More than I did.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had less than that.
That was helpful in the sense of it was kind of hard to have cliques. I mean,
Yeah.
there were still cliques. We had the group that was the athletes, and we had
Mm,
the group that were the studious students, and then we
yeah,
had
the smart kids.
yeah, then we had just like what I would say your everyday group, your everyday
Yeah,
people or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
jocks and whatnot. I bounced around from different groups, I would say. I
yeah,
think that I was so sociable that I was like friends with everybody within
yeah.
every group.
Now, see, I could see Kathy doing this too.
I would say that probably if you were to ask my high school classmates, they would probably put me in more of the sporty. I don't know what you call girls, like the sport, because I played basketball, volleyball, and soccer all
Oh
through high
yeah,
school.
or
Um,
you are a jock.
but I will say, Jason and I love to tease each other and do this. So one of the things that our high school did every year, I went to a Christian high school,
Hmm.
and at the end of every year, your peers would vote. We had what we called the Fruits of the Spirit Awards.
Yeah,
And so at the end of every year, all the high school and the junior high too would vote on who they thought exemplified the self control,
yeah.
who they thought exemplified this particular fruit of the spirit and
Hmm.
whatnot. Um, and I'm pretty sure, I know our senior year, but I'm pretty sure it was the same for our junior year. Um, Jason won overall the fruit of the spirit. Like that's that was the award you wanted. It was like a
Oh
popularity
wow.
contest in
Yeah,
some ways. If
yeah,
you were voted, you wanted to win the overall fruit of the spirit, because that meant that you, sorry, my headphones are sliding. That meant that you exemplified all of the fruit, like the fruits,
yeah.
well and best.
Okay.
So, and then the one that was right below that was the fruit of the spirit was love.
Yeah,
So those were like the two like people wanted.
yeah.
And I know for sure our senior year, but possibly your junior year, I won the fruit of this. I won love, and Jason won overall, both like junior year and our senior year. And I wish so much that I could see that vote count to see like how much did he beat me by? Like, and
Okay,
so
that's funny.
anyway, we like to tease each other. Jason's like, just so you know, I won overall fruit of the spirit. I love Jesus more than you. And I'm
Yeah.
like, really? Just so
Put that
you
in my
know,
face.
none of it matters without
Right?
love.
Right.
Okay,
There
so
you go.
there you go.
There you go.
Anyway, so for me, probably the sports.
Okay.
I would
Yeah,
say.
I was probably more like I, I wasn't even really I struggled in academics too, so I don't even know where I fit in, to be honest with you. I
Yeah,
played sports. I was in drama. I don't know. I
you
was an
had your
anomaly.
you had your toes in every.
Yes. I was an anomaly, y'all. Yep. Ah,
All right. Well, this is the question I'm very excited about. And if I make fun of her, she knows I'm just teasing.
She purposely put this in here
So,
for me.
Ellen, why don't you tell our listeners what your hairstyle looked like?
Okay, y'all. I had long hair. So it was down to my back. It's probably as long as Kathy's is now. But back in the 90s, if y'all were 90s teenagers, the poofier your hair was, and my hair is naturally wavy. I used to get perms in my hair. So like when I get perms in my hair, ladies, it took like 2 hours. I mean, they had to put some strong perm solution in my hair because my hair is so thick. But my hair was curly. It was probably to the point of being frizzy. Um, if y'all know what Aquanet is, you're my age, ladies. Tease the bangs. I had bangs, and I literally would get up every morning. You had a what was that comb called? It was like a little
Like a pick.
a teaser. It was a pick. And I would use the teaser, the pick, to like tease my hair. And the higher it got, and I'm not kidding y'all, I sprayed that Aquanet on my bangs. Sometimes it was so bad, y'all, that I had hairspray flakes because I sprayed so much in my hair.
Oh my heavens.
It was bad. And I didn't realize how bad it was. I carried Aquanet in my purse, y'all. I did.
Oh, yeah, that's bad.
It was
bad.
bad.
Did you have a pick?
I did have a pick.
Oh,
I did. And I literally, my high school, I posted a picture of my senior picture.
You did.
And it was high. And my hair was like, I mean,
aren't you so glad that you don't do that anymore?
Oh my God. I don't know what I was thinking because my hair is straight. I use a straightener. I straighten my hair. I want it straight. And I would look at my pictures and go, what in the world was I thinking? And shoulder pads were a big thing too.
Oh, yeah. That was part of the other question.
Yeah.
Like, how did you dress?
I dressed I tried to dress conservatively. Now, I was a little bit rebellious. So I tried to wear my skirts a little bit above the knee. My parents didn't like it above the knee. I think I shared this in my childhood when we did the childhood podcast. So I was a little bit rebellious in that way. I wore Keds. Keds were my thing.
Those are kind of in now.
I know. I noticed that. I'm like, Keds are coming back. It's very weird. But I had to have a pair of white Keds. I wore those a lot. And my socks were like ankle socks folded down. You folded down your socks to your ankle. I'm trying to think of how else. Yeah. I
had shoulder pads.
Yes.
I mean, I mentioned in our Facebook page, for those of you who are not in there, she showed her senior picture and I laughed at it and was like, oh, you can tell you're a 90s teen because it was like a floral dress, I think.
Yes.
Her shoulders looked big, so I assumed she had shoulder pads, but she said, I took them out.
I took them out because they were annoying me.
I mean, the funny thing is most people I know who grew up as a teen in the 90s who wore things with shoulder pads hated those things.
Yeah, they were annoying.
And they would take them out. And I'm like,
I cut them out.
Why did they make them if people didn't
like them? I
don't know.
There was some stuff I was just like, okay,
Oh, man.
Well, what about you, Kathy?
Oh, man. Here's the thing. I was just talking about this last night. If it weren't by the grace of God and Melody Rowe didn't come into my life, and I'm not kidding when I say this, I would be wearing overly baggy gym shorts, like past my knees.
Okay.
And big t-shirts and sports bras with my hair braided in cornrows. I was
really
super sporty. Like, I mean,
I have to see
sporty.
a picture of that.
So with Melody coming into my life, and she and her mom took me shopping one day, and it was super fun. And they're both like super fashionable. They're like, here, try on this. I'm like, oh, I feel like I felt like a princess.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they bought me these clothes and I remember wearing them to school the next day. And I remember, in high school, you're so like self-absorbed. I mean, at least I was. I shouldn't say everybody
I was.
But I was like, oh, everybody's looking at me and some of the dudes are noticing me. And I'm like, what did I do different? And it was like, oh, I dressed differently. And so with that kind of encouraged me to think more about like dressing more feminine. And then my other best friend who was super fashionable, her name was Yujin. I've talked about her before. She's Korean and super fashionable too. She also helped me, and eventually by my senior year, I would like to say I was more fashionable.
Yeah.
But yeah, those first few years of high school, I look back, I'm like, oh, why?
Yeah,
why'd you do that?
I'm telling you, when I look at the pictures, I was like, oh my gosh, I had such big hair.
My hairstyles, I mean,
how was your hair?
I went from like one year, my sister cut my hair and it was very short.
Really?
Which was not very pretty. and not because of like it just didn't work for me. And then I had bangs, and then one year I grew my hair, and my hair is also wavy and curly.
Yeah.
So I went through a season where I would let my hair be curly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say I didn't really start being more. I'm putting this in quotation marks because I would say I'm not incredibly fashionable now anyway, but I wasn't super
I don't even know what the thing is now. I mean, I really don't.
That reminds me, I'll connect you with somebody I follow that I don't mean this to be mean.
I love you, Kathy Allison.
She's probably your age, and she's a fashionable lady on Instagram, and she's always sharing like the outfits that she wears and like this. I think you would really like her. Okay. I like her, and I'm not her age. Sorry.
Anyway. I just said I love you, Kathy Allison. You're so funny.
Let's jump to question 8. Who was your favorite teacher?
Mrs. Hughes was my favorite teacher.
She's the one that taught history, right?
No, she's the one that taught English. And she was also Chad's advisor.
That's right.
She was one of my teachers that fostered, that really kind of got me thinking about teaching.
Oh, awesome.
And just really encouraged Chad when he was getting his teacher certification and everything. And then probably also our senior sponsor, Mrs. Parker. Love you, Miss Parker. She's still around. We actually run into her sometimes at the grocery store because she lives not too far. She lives in the same community that we do. And so she taught government.
Okay.
She's our government teacher our senior year. And she was just fun. She was a fun lady. She was our senior sponsor. She loved us. She still comments on my posts, and she'll say stuff like, I remember those two. If I would post a picture of Chad and I remember you two in high school, just stuff like that. So like fun. Those were probably my 2 favorite teachers. What about you?
I will say that Mr. Williams by far is the teacher that had the most impact on me. Because he taught me how to think for myself.
Okay.
He also instilled within me just a desire to learn.
Yeah.
Now his classes were probably the hardest for me. But I would credit that to being the fact that he always stretched me to be more.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Senora, her name is actually, she was our Spanish teacher. Her name is Mrs. Rogers, but we all called her Senora. I loved her. Like, she just loves people and loves the Lord, and just really just cared for the students.
Yeah.
And so as far as like knowing, like just knowing that I had her as a teacher, and knowing that she was praying for me, and that she was on my team and fighting for me, and hoping, like, I would say that she's probably super close to being up there with Mr. Williams.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure they both are no longer teaching. They've retired. But they both were fantastic.
Yeah.
And I miss them dearly.
Aww.
But they went with us in our high school. I
know. It's okay. Sorry, Jason.
They went with us on our high school senior trip, and that was special.
Okay.
So yeah. Cool. Anyway, since we're done with talking about who your favorite teacher is, let's go on and talk about like a favorite, maybe 2 favorite high school memories you might have that you can share with us.
Okay. Some of our favorite high school memories. Let's see. I know I shared in the childhood podcast that my parents didn't necessarily let me go do things or go stay at other people's houses. When I got into high school, they were a little bit more relaxed. They allowed me to go do some different things. And probably I remember we were in 10th grade, and some of my people from high school from Westbury Christian can probably remember this. So we spent the night at a friend's house. And okay, I'm dating myself. Have you ever heard of toilet papering houses?
Yes.
Okay. We decided we're going to go toilet paper all of the boys in our classes. We would go out at night and we would toilet paper their house. So we made this plan. We went to the store, and I'm not kidding you. We bought a ton of toilet paper. And I remember the cashier looking at us like, what are you going to do with all this toilet paper? And so I remember we all packed into my friend Haley's car. I mean, we were sitting on top of each other. This is okay. Hopefully my dad's not listening to this podcast. It was unsafe driving.
If you're listening, push mute.
It was unsafe driving. So we just would we went to pretty much almost all of the guys' houses, and we toilet papered their house. So we did that most of the night. I don't think we got home until after midnight, and then we watched a horror movie. And we all slept literally holding hands because it freaked us out. I don't even remember what movie we watched, but it was a movie that freaked us out. But that was probably one of my funnest memories that I think I could remember going back. Probably junior, senior banquet. That was fun. We did go on a trip for spring break. So the girls in our class did. Surprisingly, my parents let me go to that, and we went to Galveston.
Oh, that's fun.
And there was a whole bunch of other high school students that were on we're on spring break as well. So we had a good time. I mean, I remember those times. It was good. It was fun.
That's awesome.
What about you?
I would say for me, favorite high school memories. One would have to be our senior trip. Our high school senior class went to New York City.
Oh, that's fun.
Yes, ma'am. So we did it was a mission. We worked with a church there for a couple of days, and
were you gone the whole week?
Yeah, it might have been longer than a week.
Oh, wow.
But we were there for a bit, doing helping a church, evangelize and reach the city, and then at the end of it, we did touristy things.
Okay.
And that was super special.
Wow.
I mean, you have to understand, this is coming from me who grew up the way that I grew up, never thinking I would leave Des Moines, Iowa.
Yeah.
And now here I am going to New York City.
Wow.
Just amazing.
Yeah.
So cool. That trip was a special memory. Super special memory.
Oh.
I would also say it was kind of fun winning prom queen. I was very surprised by that. Just because my other friend, I think I shared this in one of our episodes that's not released yet.
Yeah.
But there was a tie for prom queen, and then the teachers had to vote, and I ended up winning. And I was surprised by that because the other friend,
prom queen.
Yeah, I was
cool.
Oh, that's kind of fun.
Aww.
So that was a special memory.
Was that the picture of you and Jason? Were you prom queen when you posted
so I
on
had
Instagram?
Did you see?
Yeah, I think so. It was a little. I was like, oh, cute. Okay.
And now he was not the prom king. His best friend, they weren't dating, but they kind of were they both had feelings for one another, but they weren't dating.
Yeah.
At least they said they weren't. Maybe they were tricking us.
Oh, goodness.
So he was prom king and I was prom queen.
Okay.
So that was a super special memory too. And then one other memory, our junior year. My junior year was probably my favorite year.
Mm-hmm.
Because that particular year, our entire high school, not entire high school, my class.
Yeah.
We had there was a guy in my class who was just super creative and loved to write and create things.
Yeah.
And Jason loves to do video.
Yeah.
And there were a few other dudes who loved to act. And so one year we took this guy, his name's Daniel, he took the story of Macbeth and turned it into a play. And my class, all of the kids in my class had a part in it. And we created this play called Macbeth just on our free time. It wasn't required. We just wanted to hang out and make this play.
Wow.
And Jason's parents actually hosted all of it in their home.
Wow.
And it was so fun. And some of our teachers were involved in it too. It was so fun.
Oh.
I'll have to have Jason maybe pull up the video so that I can share it. It was a fun. So that's another fun memory.
Aww.
So I would definitely say my junior year and senior year were probably my two favorite years. So
yeah.
Anyway, what about hard? What was hard for you? Like, is there a memory or a time that was like, this was tough?
I want to say my freshman year was really, really tough.
That's hard for a lot of people.
The school that I was going to closed down, and then we most everybody went to the school that we were at our freshman year. It was Bel Air Christian Academy.
Okay.
And I don't know if I was a magnet because I was just different, but like people were just not nice to me. I just remember that memory in my mind that people were not nice to me.
I'm sorry.
I specifically remember some of the girls that were in the upper grades, and Chad started going to Bel Air Christian Academy the second semester, or like maybe a couple of weeks before the second semester. And it was just like this group of popular people. I played volleyball. I was on the volleyball team. But there were times where I was just treated they were not nice to me. They were mean to me. They would just tell me like, move out of the way. It's my ball. I got the ball. Or like nobody wanted to really be friends with me. And that was really, really hard. People were saying mean and nasty things about me. They were saying different things about me because they had different perceptions about me. And in fact, Chad said the first time he heard about me was he heard somebody talking about me, and it was something specifically that was not true about me, but that was his first impression of me. He had never met me, but this particular person, and it was one girl that was just extremely mean to me. And I still vividly remember that. Vividly. And I still carry that sometimes. But my freshman year was the hardest year because I felt like I was alone a lot of times. My best friend was not going to Bel Air Christian Academy. She started going there, I think, like maybe in the middle of the year. She might have, but even then, she was kind of hanging around with more of the popular kids. And my best friend Kelly she was wonderful at sports, whereas I had struggled. I had to really, really play sports hard to be able to fit in. And so, but freshman year was so hard. It was rough. It was rough.
That's a hard year for a lot of kids.
Because it's a transition from middle school to high school. Yeah. What about you?
So for me, my freshman year wasn't as hard. I would say probably my hardest year was my senior year. I think that was just because I was wrestling with, I'm leaving to go to college.
Yeah.
I am, what in the world?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I can do this. And then there were times where I was like, no, I can do this. And so I would say that my parents and I I fought more with my parents.
Yeah.
And that was just because, some of it was because I'm a sinner who needs Jesus.
Yeah.
Some of it was also because I was like, Mom, I love you, but let me be my own person.
Yeah.
But she was also trying to set up boundaries. It was just like this hard, like give and take. Like they would give, and then I felt like they would take, and I'm sure like they would probably say like there were things they didn't do perfectly, and
Yeah.
I know that I wasn't a perfect kid by any means. But yeah, my senior year was tough. And on top of that, I was dating Jason too. And so that was hard too, because I was fighting against a lot of strong temptation, and so my senior year was tough. For a lot of things and reasons. I can't really say that there was like a hard memory, like, oh, this happened and it was awful. I can just say that, my junior year was a little tough because of the SAT and the ACT. I'm not a test taker. I'm just not.
I'm not either.
And I stressed and worried myself so much about that test that I failed those tests completely. And then, so that was hard because that's the test that you take. And then my senior year was hard just because I was realizing that next year I'm going to be, I put this in quotation marks because I wasn't, but I was going to be on my own.
Yeah.
And that was scary for me. But I did end up, my first year, I ended up living at home and I went to the community college.
Okay.
Which was the right decision. And then my sophomore year, my best friend Melody and I ended up rooming together. I moved down to the community college that was closer to the 4-year state university that I was going to attend.
Okay. And Jason was away at college,
yes.
Right?
He went to Union for 2 years
Okay.
in Jackson, Tennessee.
Okay.
And then, or was it a year and a half? I think he transferred his sophomore year spring semester.
Okay.
Because he had plans to ask me to marry him and we were going to get married and, all these things.
Got it.
So.
All right.
Anyway, but high school's tough, man.
Oh.
Hormones are everywhere. Big decisions are coming up. It's just a thing. Junior high's tough too, though.
It is. I those were not my most fondest memories, was junior high and high school. Yeah. Those were tough.
Okay, so we talked about our favorite teacher. Was there a teacher that scared you, that people were afraid of?
Yes. And I actually was asking my husband about this because I was going to say this person and I wanted to get confirmation from him.
That's fantastic.
She knows what I'm going to say. Probably the scariest teacher was Mr. Derek.
Side note, y'all.
Which is really strange. This is really strange, y'all.
My son, let's do the backstory.
Yeah.
So when we became friends, I was mentioning to them that my son was going to be taking a test with his potentially new math teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned the math teacher's name and mentioned what the math teacher did. And her husband's like, there's no way. There's only one Peter Derek who's a canoeing champion.
Yeah.
Who taught math. It's their teacher from back in the day. Now teaches, he's a retired teacher, but he has his own thing now where he teaches homeschooling students.
Mm-hmm.
He's from the UK.
Yes.
He's a little bit scary. And you have to understand, back when Chad and Ellen, he is. But here's the thing: back when Chad and Ellen went to high school,
yeah,
corporal punishment was still a thing. You could still get spanked with a whatever,
with a paddle. And my husband. So backstory here: my husband, big surprise here. Was being a little bit defiant. I don't remember exactly what. Oh, yeah. Him and the science teacher, he was supposed to meet after school. He forgot about the meeting. He went home. The science teacher called, talked to his dad. His dad said, you're going to have to get pops. And Mr. Derek was the one that gave pops to the boys at school. He was a canoe champion, realized that. So his arms were really strong. Mm-hmm. He might have been a little guy, but Chad said, in fact, that's when we started talking, was after he got his corporal punishment, he came down and he was rubbing his backside. His face was red because he was mad. Mr. Derek hits pretty hard. That was when corporal punishment was fine. But he was probably the scariest teacher I think we we probably ever had. It's scary.
Which is funny to me that, it's come full circle for you guys because my son is now taking him as math.
Yeah, which is really small world, people.
Yes.
What about you?
The scariest teacher I had.
Yes.
If you're listening to this, you probably are going to be shocked by this, but it's so true to this day. Was my science teacher. She was this tiny little Korean woman.
Yeah.
Scared me to death. I was like, I am going to listen up, shape up, and behave in that class. Because if I don't, she's like, corporal punishment wasn't the thing for me, but detentions and stuff. But she was little. She was my scariest by far.
That's funny.
Anyway, but I also loved her. Goodness. She was also another favorite teacher of mine. Okay. For time's sake, I think we should jump to just a couple more. Okay. What did you work in high school?
I did. My first job, if you are from the Houston area, I worked at Astroworld, Six Flags. And my first summer job, I worked in merchandise, which is basically I worked in a store and I was like a cashier in one of the stores. And then my second year, that summer, I worked at Astroworld again and I worked in rides. And I don't know what I was thinking getting into rides because you're outside in the rides and you're in the elements more. But when you were in merchandise, you were in the store and you had AC. I don't know what I was thinking.
And in Houston, you want AC, especially in the summer.
I will never forget. Those were some fun times at Astroworld. It's no longer there. They took it down a couple of years before we actually moved back. And now it's just plain land.
Do you know every time, fun fact, literally every time we go visit Jason's grandparents, we take that direction. There's another direction we can go, but he purposely takes this direction because he wants us to go under the walkway.
Bridge. Yeah, the walkway.
That you walk. So as soon as we get there, he tells us all, hey, everyone, listen. Over there. You see over in there, that parking lot? That's where you would park.
Yeah.
That's where we would park. And you see this bridge? You cross this bridge and over there. And I'm like, every single time. We've done this for 13 years. I'm not kidding.
Astroworld.
He loved Astroworld. Oh, I know nothing about Astroworld.
Yeah. Yes.
But everybody who grew up in Texas and did Astroworld, I've heard nothing but great things.
Yes.
Which makes me wonder, why is it not a thing? Why did it close down?
Well, I think it slowly kind of deteriorated.
Okay. So it wasn't getting the money and maybe kids, the crowds
were getting a little bit rougher.
Okay.
And I don't know if it was generating enough money. And I think they wanted... The land's just there. There's nothing there.
I know. It's strange.
There's porta potties for when the rodeo comes.
I know. That's
it.
Yeah.
That's
interesting.
Anyways. Oh my goodness.
So for me, my high school job, I didn't take a job my freshman or sophomore year, but my junior year, I started working at the grocery store called County Market. I worked in the deli. I was a deli girl.
I think I remember you posted a picture of you and Jason. Did he work there too?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay.
He was, I don't know what his official title was, but I joke that he was a stalker. He did stalk things at the grocery store, but I would tell there's a guy two guys I worked with, Alvin and Jermaine. And I'm like, this annoying kid from my high school keeps coming over to the produce, which the produce was in front of the deli, and sweeping the same stupid floor. Why is he here? What is going on? For that was a semester. And finally Alvin, he's like, look, sister, if you haven't figured out by now, this dude likes you. And that's why he keeps coming over to sweep the produce. I'm like, no, he doesn't. And then I started to figure it out. I was like, I think he might like me.
Oh my gosh. That is hilarious. Yes. Now, I will say also, when I worked at Astroworld my first year, Chad worked there too.
Oh, that's cool.
He worked at the kiddie rides. It was the kiddie section.
That's so perfect.
It's hilarious.
That's perfect.
I know. I'm trying to picture him working there. Huh?
Who was your best friend in high school?
My best friend? Hi, Kelly. Her last name is Lafarge now. Kelly Black. We knew each other since 3rd grade.
That's cool.
And actually, the first time we ever met, our teacher introduced us to each other. Because I was already going there, and Kelly was new that week, and she said, "Ellen, this is Kelly. Kelly, this is Ellen. Ellen, I want you and Kelly to, like show Kelly around." And so after that, we just immediately bonded, and then we ended up finding out that we went to the same church. And then I would go to Vacation Bible School with her every summer. She was my maid of honor at my wedding. There was a little part which, we'll talk about in our friendship series, that we lost contact with each other. We had kind of a falling out, and it was through very difficult circumstances that God brought us back. The first time He brought us back was when my mother passed away. Then I tried to reconnect with her, and then it just wasn't the right time. And then 2 years ago, her husband suddenly passed away. And so we connected. And so I'm very, very thankful, even though it was very hard. There were times where I missed her in my life. And whenever I had that inkling, I would just pray, God, put her back in my life. But my best friend in high school was Kelly. And then we also had another friend, and it was the 3 of us. We were like 3 musketeers. Her name was Elenita. She actually was a family friend in my family, but we also knew each other very young. And she was in my wedding as well. Elenita and I still kind of keep up with each other, but not as much. But it was the 3 of us. But Kelly was my best friend, and will always be my best friend.
I know we've talked about seeing if Kelly would come on. Have you talked to her to see if she'd be interested in?
I have not talked to her yet.
You should talk to her. Kelly, she's going to talk to you. I've met Kelly. She's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
She's fun.
Yeah.
So my best friend, I have 3.
Mm-hmm.
Melody has been my best friend
which I have still yet to meet.
Mm-hmm. I know. I need you. I want you guys to meet.
Yeah.
We've been best friends since I was adopted. So my 7th grade. And then my freshman year, God brought Eugen to our high school, and we became best friends. And she lived with us her last 2 years of high school.
Oh.
And then Jason, my junior and senior year, was my other best friend. So I would say 3. I'm still super close. In fact, God brought Melody to Houston like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is a special season for us. And I'm soaking it all in because I never know if she'll move back home. But she lives close by now.
You posted a picture of her and you.
Yes.
I was like a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, oh, okay. We have to meet.
A lot of people think we are related because Melody is redheaded, and they're like, "Are you guys related?" I'm like, "No,
we're just best friends."
Yeah. And then Eugen and I kind of lost contact too for a long time until about a few months ago. She reached out to me on Facebook and added me as her friend, and we've reconnected, and it's been special. Aww. And obviously, Jason and I never lost touch.
Yeah,
because we're married. So,
duh.
Anyway, okay. Here's our last question, and I'll try to make my answer short and sweet. How would you describe your walk with the Lord when you were in high school? Okay, so for me, I would say the first 2 years of high school, I was still wrestling with a lot of questions and had a lot of doubts. Still dealing with some anger about my childhood. And but then when I turned 16, which was right in my senior year, so I turned 16 my sophomore year because I ended up being held back a grade.
Yeah.
I turned 16 in November, my sophomore year, and that's when I came to know the Lord. And so my junior year was like, I was like all for Jesus.
Yeah.
Like I was studying the Bible. I was memorizing scripture. I was only listening to Christian music. I was only like, watching Christian, like it was like all this, right? Because it was all this one time and then it was all this. I wasn't going to date. Like I told myself, nope, I'm not dating. Not until I'm going to get out of high school and then I'll meet the man of my dreams in college or whatever. My junior year was super like, it was me and Jesus. And then my senior year, I learned the healthy balance of like, you can do these wonderful things and still like, I can still watch secular movies and still bring glory to the Lord. And I can still listen to secular music and still, so my senior year was really making my faith my own faith and not my parents' faith. And it's really when I started to think more about the things I believe and why I believe what I believe. Yeah. So I would say the beginning of my high school years, my relationship with the Lord wasn't there. And then towards the end, I was like, a Jesus freak is the best way to explain it. DC talk right there. I didn't grow up listening to Christian music in the 90s, but that's for you Christians who watched, you Christian 90 kids who listen to DC talk.
Yes, DC talk. I remember.
What about you, my friend, before we close?
For me, same as well. My freshman and sophomore year were very difficult for me. I mean, I grew up in church. I went to youth group, but some of the things that would happen in youth group, not feeling part of a group, and then just, I struggled. And then when I met my husband, and I read the book, This Present Darkness, and I started asking my husband questions. I was 17 when I accepted Christ. So that was, let me think, that was when we were going to Westbury Christian. So I want to say I was a junior. I accepted Christ as my savior, but I wasn't necessarily living the life. I knew I was a Christian, but I do remember reading my Bible. I mean, I went to Christian school, so, we had Bible class. I do remember I was curious about scripture I was reading, but like as far as getting deep into the word, I wasn't there yet. And I want to say that my Christian walk really, truly wasn't strong until after I was out of high school and when I was married, But my walk wasn't there, but I was a Christian, but it was like I was a baby Christian and I just didn't know how to take those steps towards that. Yeah.
Well, praise God that he promises us that he who began in a work in you will complete it to the end.
Yes. Oh,
and that he's continuing to work in you and me and sanctify us. And
to this day.
Yes. Amen. Amen. Well, thank you for
this was fun. And we hope that you enjoyed our walk through our teenage years.
And we would love to hear about your teen years. Yes. If there's a particular question, maybe we can share a few of these questions on our Facebook page. But if you follow us on YouTube and you want to just chime in on something like who your favorite celebrity crush was or your favorite teacher, we'd love to hear from you. It's been nice to hear from some of you ladies. I know that Ellen's heard from some and I've received texts from people.
Yeah. Thank you for encouraging us, guys, because we're new to this, but it's very encouraging when people.
And we enjoy it.
We love it.
Praise God that he's using it to encourage you as well.
Yes.
Well, that is the it of tonight's episode. So we're so glad you're here and listened. And we will see you next week. Right?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, ladies.